Kia ora, you've tuned into the New Zealand Small Business and Entrepreneur Festival podcast. This one is going to be slightly different. On our Monday podcast, we're going to drill into a little bit more detail about certain topics. And today we have Miriam Hewson from Futureproof. She's also based in Rotorua, and we're going to focus on Xero. So over the next few months, we're going to drill into detail about GST returns and filing, dashboard, and how to do all the cool things you can do on Xero. I don't really know that well, so I'm learning as well with you. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Miriam into the stream. Kia ora.
Kia ora, how are you?
I'm very well. I'm hoping that you had a lovely summer break. It's still nice and summery at the moment. It's January in New Zealand and it's nice and warm.
It is, and I'm still catching those last rays sitting on my deck talking to you guys. So, yeah, what do you need more?
Hey, so today we're going to focus on cloud-based accounting. Maybe have a little bit of an overview of some of the other platforms out there that are awesome as well. But we're going to really focus in on Xero. Xero is obviously one of our naming partners for the festival, and it's one that you said is one of your favorite brands in our podcast when we did too. This is the first time we've had someone twice on this mini festival podcast. So thank you for coming back again.
Thanks for having me.
So I might ask a question. What types of accounting software are out there?
So you have a bunch of different ones. You have desktop versions that you have to basically upgrade on a regular basis. To be fair, though, they're phasing out because Xero has really changed the game. About, I think, 13, 14 years ago, they've really changed the game of accounting, and what accountants used to do has been automated a lot. And it's awesome because that means we can spend a lot more time consulting with our clients and really focusing on the areas that they want to improve in rather than just crunching the numbers. But yeah, so they've got the cloud-based software, which is like Xero, MYB, Henry. So these are just a few to name. And yeah, so you really want to be in a cloud-based solution because it's live. You don't have to double handle your data. The old times where you had to use your bank statements and then punch in who's paid you. All of this is redundant, really. So cloud-based accounting software saves you so much time. I remember first putting a client of mine onto Xero, and they recorded saving about 10 hours a week on doing bookkeeping. So essentially, it frees them up immensely on doing other things, and it's really intuitive and straightforward to use, says the accountant.
What other sort of are there free options to use, or does it cost per month, or are there different subscriptions with different requirements? How does it work?
So there are free options to use, like the likes of Henry. That is a free software. There's a few others out there, but they're really for basics. So if you're only just starting and you want to get your head around how everything works, and so, for example, with Henry, you usually have a tax agent sitting in the background. So you are responsible for plugging your own numbers in, and then they will do your end-of-year financial statements and tax returns for you at the same time, and you pay commission based on a refund that you may receive. But for Xero, for instance, it's advertised for the end user, but us accountants, we absolutely love it. So we are also Xero partners, and that means we have basically all of our clients are actually on Xero. We prepare all of our clients' reports in Xero, simply because it's very sophisticated. It can do everything in one place. With Xero, there are different subscription levels. So if you're first starting out, it really depends on how many transactions you've got going on, if you have to send invoices out, whether or not you're GST registered. So the basic subscription starts at $25 plus GST a month, and it sort of staggers up. It also hosts multi-currency. So if you're a business that trades overseas and have an account that has different currencies to it, Xero can absolutely host that. And depending as well, if you need payroll, if you need to add on things like projects, so you can, basically monitor what a project costs you. So for instance, Craig, I do, if I was a plumber, I do some plumbing at your house and it takes me about 3 weeks because it's a massive house and you're plumbing it up completely, then I can keep track of my costs, my time, and so forth. So yeah, it depends. But They are different levels for each sort of scenario, which is really good.
So today we're going to focus on just the actual accounting software on Xero, and you're just going to take us through the real super basics so that people can get an understanding of what it looks like, what the interface looks like, and what to do once you open it up.
Yeah. Cool. So before I'm going to show you what it looks like and feels like and where things are at, I just wanted to just let you know how it works to start with. So Xero itself doesn't pay your invoices or, prepares any transactions for you. But what it does, it links your bank account, business bank accounts, to it, and that means that your bank transactions are automatically getting recorded in your accounting system. So prior to that, we had to take the bank statements and plug in those transactions manually. So you would quite often pay your accountant for data entry, and that has taken it completely to the next level, which is awesome. So what it does essentially is when I pay you today, Craig, it will show up in your Xero tomorrow as income. And when you pay your bills, it will show up and within 24 hours as outgoing. So it mirrors your bank transactions. You can link any bank account, you can link PayPal accounts, you can link credit cards, loan accounts. So anything that has to do with banks and transactions, you can link. Now, I just want to add here, cryptocurrency is a really big one for some of our clients, at least at the moment. There's no live feed for those currently because they are encrypted. So it's a bit hard for Xero to figure out where it came from and so forth. But there are other ways that I know they're looking into it at the moment. But yeah, other than that, you can link as many bank accounts as you want in there. So your job as the person that's responsible is to reconcile those transactions on a daily basis or weekly basis, depending on what the volume is. And what I mean by reconciling is you have to give it a classification. So if I pay you, Craig, you would say, hey, this was income. So in the background of Xero is something called a chart of accounts. And that's basically just a fancy word for saying this was sales, or this was bank fees, or these were accounting fees, or here purchase material. So it's your responsibility to just tell Xero what these different transactions are, because that will then form the report, all the various reports that you can pull out of Xero and make some sense of it, hopefully. One thing I would say is when Xero is set up, so obviously as a end user, you can set up Xero by just going onto their website. You get a 30-day free trial where you can have a little bit of a play around. Every Xero subscriber also gets a demo company. So if you want to try something and you're not too sure how it works, go and play there because you can't really muck anything up. However, I would highly recommend that you get an accountant or someone that's financially savvy to just make sure that your setup is right. Because a lot of the time I had clients come back to me and I would prepare the end of year financials and I had to just tidy up their chart of accounts. The classifications were wrong. And so it gives you a wrong picture, So if we go in and have a look, we would go, oh, okay, so we actually spend more time fixing it than what it would have cost you if we would have set up to start with. But that's just on a side note. So you can link everything. Everything is going to be there, and your job is to allocate what these transactions are. The cool thing is with Xero as well, so Xero learns AI. It learns how the behaviors are or what you code things to. So what you will find after a while is Xero will remember what things were coded to, and it will just suggest that for you, and then you can just click a button and say, okay. So this particular scenario is for when you have the basic subscription, so you don't have to pay any invoice, or so you're not sending any invoices out. And that's really good for retail businesses or hospitality businesses that get paid straight over the counter. So then the other thing that it does too is you obviously can send invoices out of Xero, which also enables you to send automatic reminders. And that's been really, really good for some of my tradies who find it awkward to follow up when bills weren't paid because they did a job for their mate. So Xero automatically, you can set it up in a way that it sends out automatic reminders either across the board or specific to different customers. and it will go out as soon as it's a day overdue and it hasn't been reconciled. It works only though if you're up to date with your reconciliations. So if your client has paid you or customer has paid you and you haven't reconciled it, then Xero will still send that reminder. So it's, so it's really life, and you have to be really timely and disciplined with it. If you choose to send these reminders, you can send statements out of it. So there's a lot of functions in there that makes life a lot easier. You no longer have to print statements out and send them via mail. I mean, we all in the technology, we all fairly technology savvy. So I sent my statements once a month in one click of a button. And it's super easy. Same with my GST. So Xero links directly to IRD. It won't pay it for you, but it will file it straight to IRD. And it's the same with payroll. Yeah, look, I could talk about this all day, but why don't we just dive into the dashboard and I have a real quick look and show you around a little bit.
Okay, cool. There you go.
Cool. So hopefully you can see my mouse moving here. So I just jumped into the demo company of Xero, and like I said, everybody has access to it. Xero updates this on a regular basis, but so this is not my own business, just a disclaimer here. But what it shows you on the dashboard, so the different headings over here, it shows you all the bank accounts that are linked. So in this case, we have 2 bank accounts, but one doesn't appear to have any transactions in here. So that could be because the bank isn't live yet. So there is a setup process where you have to get authority to link it to the bank. But your job is to click into this here and reconcile. But before I go in here, I just wanted to show you what else is on here. You can choose your account's watch list. So what this is how I mentioned the chart of accounts in the beginning. Here are some of the accounts that transactions are coded to or reconciled to. And this particular person decided, hey, I want to keep an eye on advertising and entertainment because my team is spending a bit too much money here. So this is an option that you can bring to your dashboard in a one-stop shop. And then you have your invoices owed to you and bills you need to pay. And this is only showing up if you have the right subscription to send invoices out and to put your suppliers invoices in. And I guess in a later episode, we're going to dive in really how we enter all of these things. But for now, this is basically what you can see on your dashboard. There's other things you can add to it. So it's really customizable for you. If you want to get really, really tricky, you can put ratios in it, which means like, is your debt over your assets and things like that. So it can get really, really technical, which means it is really good for larger companies with different departments. So you can really customize it down to that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just jump into here because I talked about reconciling and coding. The business bank account, this is how it looks. So if Craig was paid or has paid out a lot of bills, then it would look the next day like this. And it's your job to go in here and tell everybody or tell Xero what these are for. And there are different scenarios. So you can see that this company that I'm looking at here, there is a green match on the right. So the left-hand side is a mirror of your bank statement. And the right-hand side is what Xero is suggesting. What happened here is that this company received some income of $6,000 odd, and Xero is suggesting, hey, I actually have an invoice sitting in here. It has the same amount, and it also has the same invoice reference, and it happens to have the same contact. Do you want to match them? So what this is an invoice that you have created in Xero. You emailed it out to your client, Ridgeway University. They've paid you, and then Xero is telling you, okay, you can match it. So prior to this, we would go into our bank statement. We would then check, have they paid? Then we would have to go into our accounting system. We would have to manually data entry all of this and then say, yes, they have paid and tick it off and manually reconcile our bank statement. With this, you no longer have to do that. So what you do is you just click OK, and then it would have disappeared out of the list of invoices that are owed to you. So that person or that company no longer gets a reminder from you. Does that make sense? I'm sort of keep talking, just stop me.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I do have a question about the one that you're going to do after this, which is,
yep.
Do you have to keep your receipts And when do you have to keep your receipts?
Okay, so with your receipts, that's a really good question actually. There's two ways, and it really depends on how willing you are to change your habits. So personally, I've gone completely paperless with Xero, because you can electronically file your invoices and receipts in here without any drama. So I am not keeping any paper receipts anymore. I'm attaching them to each transaction. And I don't know if you want me to show this now, Craig, or I
We
can
might
dive.
we might do it another time. But
Cool.
so, are you saying that if you have a receipt, like let's say if I fill up the truck with some petrol, will I have to keep that receipt, and for how long? Or if I don't, what would happen?
Yeah.
What would happen if I'm like, oh well, I'm pretty bad at
Sorry,
receipts, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah. So there's a couple of questions in there. So one, you have to legally keep all your receipts for 7 years. You are allowed to keep them electronically, so that's where Xero is really handy. Xero actually has an app, a mobile app that you can download for free.
Mm-hmm.
And with that app, what I do is I literally take the receipt of my fuel, and it automatically lands in here in the Xero file that you are attached to, in the files inbox. And that's where you can then attach your receipts to your transaction. So when it comes through the bank account, the next day you attach it. So you have to keep them for 7 years. If you haven't kept your receipt, or you said, hey, I'm really bad, there is a little threshold. What I say to my clients, and I hope ID isn't watching, but I say, look, if it's under $100 and you lose the odd receipt, nobody is going to sue you. But what could happen if you constantly not keeping your receipts and you can't actually? So imagine ID comes knocking on your door and says, hey, I'm going to do an audit on your accounts. What you will have to show them is all the receipts to verify the transactions that you are claiming in your business. And if you cannot verify them, then that means you have overclaimed your expenses, and it means you won't be able to claim them, and they can come back and say you owe us tax. So that's really why keeping accounts and being so vigilant with it is so crucial, because I've seen it, and they keep choosing different industries for no really good reason. It's just them doing spot checks, and it's the same thing.
Does it matter what size business it is? Do they come after the person who's only making $60,000-$70,000 a year?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Like you. And so,
yeah.
Okay, cool.
If you undertaking a taxable activity which is making money in a business sense as income, then yes, you have to keep receipts. Sometimes people ask me, hey, what if it was a private purchase or a private sale? You can, as long as you can verify some sort of documentation, like a Trade Me printout of the listing or things like that, then that's sufficient too. But usually in any normal course of business, you should keep your receipt. And with the Xero app, it's super easy to just take a photo and forget about it because it's there.
Awesome. Yeah. It's a good hack.
Yeah. And look, the Xero app is really, really handy because you can also take electronic payment and things like that if you attach to a third-party credit or pay service. But the Xero app doesn't allow you to do everything or a lot of things, and it looks a little bit different as well. So it's just an app, which allows you to quickly access information and help you support the version here. I personally would recommend that having Xero desktop, because one of my clients actually has an iPad and uses Xero on that, and he doesn't use the actual www.xero.com version. He just goes on the app, and then his reconciliations are all over the place. The app is just really supporting this. So the same thing happened here. So you paid Trucks and Property Management, and you have put in a bill. This is the other way around, and then Xero just says, hey, there's a bill in here that you need to pay, and you've paid it, so you just go, okay. So always check the references, I guess is what I'm saying. Awesome. So sometimes when you're being paid by somebody and it won't match it, it could mean that it's a payment for multiple invoices. So Xero only will match it in green if it relates to just one invoice. But if it's multiple, you go to find and match, and what it shows you below are all, sorry, getting all my notifications here, are all the different invoices that are outstanding to you. And so in this case, they paid those two. So you tick them and then go, okay. So that's just as a bit of an example of how you do that. Yeah, any questions on that?
No, I think that's really good, and it's a really good start of how that we can. I'll just remove your screen now and bring us back into the
real
regular
world
thing, the real world. Yeah. So it's a really good introduction into Xero, and over the next sort of couple of months, we'll have regular catch-ups and we'll get into a bit of detail. So if anyone out there does have any specific questions about any of the accounting software, send them through email at Craig at intrinsicevents.co.nz, or whack it on our Facebook or LinkedIn or TikTok or whatever you want. However, you can get in touch with us, and we're more than happy to help. So I think that's been a really good introduction to cloud-based software, Xero. And thank you very, very much for your time. Have you got one last thing that you'd like to say to anyone out there?
Yeah, so honestly, if you're thinking about going on to, or if you started your own business, that's usually where the question comes up: should I need an accounting software, or can I just keep my bank statements? Again, start the way you want to finish. So do everything from the get-go, because it will just make life so much easier. You have to learn it eventually. It helps you for your accountant to really plan for your taxes, plan sort of the profit levels, because it's nothing worse the first 3 years of your business. That's really, really crucial, and that's where a lot of businesses fail and fault, is because they have not sufficient planning. So with an accounting software like Xero, it's super easy for your advisors to hack into your life data. I'm saying hack, and I shouldn't have said that because it's really safe. But it's really crucial for those first sort of 3 years in business to have everything live, and that's really the key. It's live. It's not the last 12 months of data that you then have to try and collate. It's all there, and you can also give your bank managers third-party access or read-only. If they, if you go to the bank, pre-approved loans or short-term overdrafts and things like that, which is actually quite a common thing at the moment under our economic circumstances. So yeah, it's a really good tool, and look, I love it. We work with all of our clients on Xero, and it's super easy to use. Yeah.
And I suppose it makes sense if you're looking at potentially starting a business to sell it later down the track. You need to have a really good, your books need to be all in order, so that when you do go to sell it, you can say, look, I started here and now I'm here, and this is the growth, this is where the growth's going.
And you don't need to call your accountant every 5 minutes to say, hey, how does this look? Because you can do it yourself. And that's where Xero is great, because it allows you to really enables you as a business owner to get a little bit more into your own numbers. And it's not, I know it sounds Chinese to a lot of people, and, talk to your advisors. Xero has a huge help resource center that you just type in keywords and it pops up. It's super easy to use once, obviously once your data comes through, and it's intuitive. You don't have to click 500 buttons to get to a point. And there's a lot of ways to roam, actually, and it's the same with Xero. So it's really good to use. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Miriam. I think we can wrap it up here. This is the first one of our shorter podcast, but more specific sort of information to help out all the small businesses and entrepreneurs and people considering starting up a business. So thanks again. Hope you have a good time in the afternoon in the sun here. It's a lovely day.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Craig. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Thanks a lot. Okay, bye.